Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this January 6th, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony, and you're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can listen to my show, if you so choose, every Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's Pacific time on FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Today, this Wednesday, I have planned two stories that I want to talk about. First is this massive methane leak in California that took place on October 23rd, 2015 has really gone unreported by the mainstream media, and its potential hazard to healthy humans, wildlife, and nature is amazing when you look at this story. And those of you who wonder exactly where it is, I'm going to tell you about that and also get into some comments made by a number of people. There was a recent town hall meeting in this area, and I'll get to that in a minute. We'll have some comments, and I'll play some things from that meeting to give you an idea of really what's going on. I received an email from someone. I had no idea really about this story, how dangerous it really is, and someone said, "Greg, get out of Southern California." And I started to think, oh, another one of these scare tactics. So I looked into the story, and it's quite amazing. Secondly, after I finish that, if we have time, I want to talk about the Hammond Ranch. I have a simple solution, and then I want to present some constitutional issues regarding the situation in Oregon right now. And you're going to understand that there's more to this than just one rancher's rights being taken away. It's basically a land grab by the federal government that's unconstitutional. And I think people need to realize that the Constitution means little to your government. And that's one reason why they shouldn't be there to begin with. And you have to really understand the limited role that the federal government has and how it has usurped the rights that were laid down in the Constitution through these crazy executive orders, through a Supreme Court who has no right to do many of the things that it does. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But now back to this methane leak. Now, the methane leak occurred October 23rd, 2015, and it's a massive natural gas leak. Now, everyone knows, I mean, even Southern Cal Gas admits to this. No one really knows exactly how it happened. And of course, they're downplaying the importance of it. But listen behind the scenes of what's going on here. It's a massive natural gas leak erupted at a storage well operated by Southern Cal Gas in Aliso Canyon outside of Los Angeles. The leak has caused serious health impacts for nearby residents of Porter Ranch neighborhood, and it opened eyes across the state and the country to the problem of oil and gas methane pollution. Now, I don't know why I understand why the mainstream media is not covering this. They'd rather have you listen to stupid Donald Trump and all these people that that really are just playing this kind of theater game of politics. And that is a story that really upsets me. You hear, 20 million was put into the coffers of Ted Cruz this month or this quarter, 100 million to Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump boldly says, I'm going to be spending $3 million a week on advertising. What really is going on? They're involved in the takeover of this country, and you better know that. Now, here's the point. Porter Ranch is located on the 118 freeway going out towards, if you want to go out towards Simi Valley, coming out of San Fernando Valley, you hit the 118 and you start going west. And Porter Ranch is right before a little town called Granada Hills, and then you'll move on that way. And it's quite interesting that I spent the Christmas holidays there because my family lives in Thousand Oaks, the Simi Valley area, right by the Reagan Library in a place called Wood Ranch. And believe it or not, I became ill when I came back. So I wonder if it had anything to do with this. And I noticed that my niece, she got ill. She was from Houston, and she became ill while she was there. And also my nephew, who came in from Washington, D.C., who was in medical school. So I don't know if that's related, but let's listen to what's going on. Now, on October 23rd, this massive leak occurred. Weeks later, the leak is ongoing, and the gas company estimates it will be the spring of 2016 before it can be stopped. But they say, oh, it's no big deal, no big health problem. But others are saying it is an unprecedented catastrophe underway in Los Angeles, largest gas leak ever recorded in history, equivalent to the strength of a volcanic eruption. Thousands are now suffering nosebleeds, vomiting, potentially devastating on a planetary scale. That's from an expert who's looking at this. It's so far above and beyond what some of these experts have ever seen in the past. And here's a couple stories. One that came out on CBS News on December 31st, 2015. It said methane leak in California's major catastrophe leak, largest ever recorded, could take 4 months to stop. Well, the gas company said it was going to be a little bit longer than that. Now, the amount of methane and natural gas that's coming out of the Aliso Canyon facility really is probably one of the largest volumes of gas ever recorded from a single leak. You know, folks, that's by Tim O'Connor, an oil and gas specialist. I mean, it can't be good for your health. We have tried that 7 times and have been unsuccessful in trying to stop the leak, said Southern Cal Gas spokesman Michael Mazzari. I have to say more than likely it's because the pressures that are coming up from the leaking well are so intense. The company says it doesn't know exactly how much gas is escaping. The Federal Aviation Administration, though, has imposed a no-fly zone over this area because of the small risk that a plane could ignite a pocket of methane. Lori Rosenberg is among the many Porter Ranch residents who say the chemicals are causing them health problems. I've had migraine headaches, itchy eyes, and runny nose for 24/7. And let me tell you something, folks, and people that know me, when I came back from this area, I came down with a cold, and you can hear it on some of my broadcasts. And one of the things I was I've never had a cold where my eyes were watering for like 2 days. And I mentioned it to some people that I know. And they just said, well, that comes with a runny nose and everything. But listen, I've had a cold before, and I never had this irritation in my eye the way it was. And it's finally gone away. Now I'm farther down the coast on the ocean. So I wonder if this was related. And someone said, Lori Rosenberg said, I think there's more gas up there than they really want to admit. Now, on December 28th, another news broadcast came out with this statement. The largest natural gas leak ever recorded is jeopardizing the health and causing evacuations for thousands of Southern California residents. Did you realize this, folks? Yes. Methane is estimated to be leaking out of the Aliso Canyon site at a rate of 62 million standard cubic feet per day. That's a lot. It's potentially devastating on a planetary scale. So, I mean, how far do you have to go away from this? People are telling me, Greg, get out of Southern California now. Now, Erin Brockovich, remember her she was the woman who was working on that huge case that had to do way back. You've seen the movie. Julia Roberts played her. And she said this on December 21st. The enormity of the Aliso Canyon gas leak cannot be overstated, and it shows no sign of stopping. According to tests conducted in November by the California Air Resources Board, the leak is spewing 50,000 kilograms of gas per hour, the equivalent to the strength of a volcanic eruption. Now, on December 30th, another news broadcast said this. Thousands suffer nosebleeds and vomiting during worst environmental disaster since BP. An invisible environmental disaster, which has been compared to the 2010 Gulf of Mexico BP oil spill, has forced thousands of people from their homes with nosebleeds, headaches, and nausea after millions of kilograms of invisible methane, that's it, you can't see it, folks, was released into the air. How did it happen? Residents claim the gas, which has drifted into surrounding neighborhoods, is making them suffer from nausea, nosebleeds, and headaches. Now, another news broadcast from the Voice of America said residents have suffered symptoms, same things, abdominal discomfort, dizziness, lightheadedness, some shortness of breath, even some nosebleeds. said medical toxicologist Cyrus Rangan of the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. Scientists are monitoring levels of benzene, a known cancer-causing agent. We want to be sure that we're monitoring every single day because we've got a lot of ever-changing environmental conditions up there. So we're not exactly sure what tomorrow's benzene levels are going to be unless we check for it. The NPR said the carcinogen benzene was found well above expected levels in the government air sample. The sheer size of the release has been shocking. That was from Tim O'Connor, an oil gas specialist. This is so far above and beyond what I've ever seen in the history of my life as a specialist, or what most people in oil and gas space have ever seen. And how often do you hear this on the mainstream news? I mean, I drove into that area over the holidays, had no idea that this was going on. Now, you may chalk that up to lack of laziness on myself or reading other stories, but I usually, a big story like that will be put on I check maybe the 6 o'clock news every other day to keep up on certain things so I can use it for my radio show. But another broadcast on December 30th said the leak has taken a serious toll on Porter Ranch residents who for weeks have reported headaches, nausea, dizziness, and other symptoms. People are having very real responses based on their own sensitivity. Cyrus Rangan, and that was from Cyrus Rangan. He's the director of Toxics Epidemiology program at LA County's Department of Public Health. This is the biggest leak that's ever been reported in history in this country, and it gets coverage as if it was a story about that had little importance at all. What is going on? Now, I received an email, and let me go over this with you. Okay, the person said this: if you're able to leave, do it now. I'm telling you, it's really critical. Toxic plume is spreading far away, not only in the Porter Ranch area. We're living a science experiment, says this at a Porter Ranch town hall meeting, which I'm going to get to. Let me check the time here. Rex Paris, an attorney who was at that meeting at 16:30 in this video, and I'm going to tell you how to get the video. I'm going to play parts of it. He said it's the most massive gas well blowout in the populated area in history. This has never happened before in a populated area, and so when they tell you that it's not damaging, it's just temporary. Whatever nonsense they're feeding you, understand, nobody knows. It's never happened before. This can be deadly. Make sure you're getting treated. Nobody knows what breathing this stuff constantly is doing to the children, the gas company says. The gas company said this is just the smell you're reacting to. It's just temporary. It's not a problem. It's not serious. These people aren't stupid. How could somebody possibly say that? We have children whose noses are bleeding every day. We have people who suffer from chronic headaches and nauseous every single day. How does that not become a serious issue? Why are they saying something nobody here believes? They're trying to convince everybody that it's in our heads. It's a trick. Now, I get back to what happened to me when I came back from that area. And I was very close. I drove right through, down to 118. I was only miles away. And I'm telling you, I had the worst eye symptoms, itchy eyes and runny eyes for 3 days that I ever had in my life, along with a cold that I'm still getting over right now. And I'm saying, did it have anything to do with this? And Michael Englander, who was at that meeting, a Los Angeles city councilman, at 45:30 in that video, said this: I will tell you, this goes well beyond Porter Ranch. We've had complaints from as far as Chatsworth, Northridge, and Granada Hills. Apparently this plume of toxic chemicals, and whatever it might be, doesn't have zip codes. So it doesn't keep moving, and it doesn't keep moving into different locations in different places. So it does keep moving. And this is the equivalent of the BP oil spill on land in a populated community. We've declared a national disaster here. Dr. Richard Kang at 5245, he's a pediatrician, said this on that video. I'm going to play parts of it for you. Unfortunately, the only real way to get away from the symptoms is unfortunately have to relocate. You have to get away from the environment. It's telling you right there, what do you do? And what's going to happen to all that property? My God, something is really strange in that area, and I hope people are listening to this broadcast. Please send it out to as many people as you can. The defense is capitalizing on the comment that it's all in your head. Let me clarify a bit. It's in your head. It's in your ears. It's in your nose. It's in your throat. It's in your chest. We're seeing asthma increases. We're seeing people who have using inhalers more often, primarily a lot of respiratory problems. If you have a chance to leave, if you're able to leave, if you have a chance to relocate, do it now. I'm telling you, it's critical. It's what we don't know more than what we do know. A lot of information will be coming out soon about what the chemical carbons are so volatile. Okay, one last thing, and then I'm going to play some of the video. Let's see what time we have here. I'll start doing it. Yeah, we got a few minutes, about 8 minutes. The other day I'm walking in the park, and I met a friend who had it was an old guy. We sat and watched, we sometimes go to a place and watch TV where a number of people come and socialize. And my friend, who's a bit older than me, had been living in the same area for me for a long time, and I asked him where his dog was. He had a little Jack Russell Terrier. And he said, "Oh, you can't believe what happened. His stomach turned. It's a stomach flip, and we couldn't save him." Now listen to what this veterinarian said at 57 minutes. He said, "I've seen dozens of cases of pets being ill or becoming ill, and I do believe it's related to the exposure to this gas. I've seen dog, cats, and birds, pocket pets. The primary symptoms I've seen are gastrointestinal, vomiting primarily. One dog actually had a torsion. I think it's related to it, where the stomach flips on itself. Not a good thing. We've seen quite a few respiratory problems." Now, do you remember what I said? My friend said his dog, I've never heard of a dog having its stomach flipped here in this area. The only good solution is to treat symptoms and remove pets from the exposure as much as possible, especially the chronic exposure. There are not things you should be inhaling. We have seen dermatologic issues as well, some very unusual bacterial infections in dogs. Interestingly enough, one client had a dog with a very unusual bacterial infection on its face, and the client developed almost the same exact kind of symptoms very soon after that. Actually, 2 people in the house did. Their physician thinks it's related, so I tend to think these correlations are real. All right, you've heard some of the comments. What do you people here in Southern California, I mean, what they're saying is the only way out of this is to leave. What kind of, you're talking of millions and millions of people. In an area that in fact, when I went to law school, I lived in the LA area for 15 years. I know that area well. I live right down the road in Santa Clarita. And this is going on as we speak. Now, we're going to go, they held everybody's celebrating Christmas, and while all the news agencies were busy covering all the garbage in the elections, which have my best solution for you is don't vote. Your vote means nothing. Whoever wins, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. It's a game, it's a theater, and you should realize that by now. Now, there was a Porter Ranch gathering, the town hall meeting just recently. This took place, this video was published on December 28th. And it was at the thousands of Porter Ranch residents attended a town hall meeting hosted at the Shepherd of the Hills Church on December 18th, 2015. Experts were present to talk about health, environmental, and legal aspects of the Aliso Canyon gas blowout. So we're going to start this right now and continue it. And I got about 6 minutes here, so let's listen to the pastor who is going to introduce to you to this problem.
I'm going to try that one more time. Good evening. Thank you for coming to Shepherd tonight. My name is Dudley, Pastor Dudley. I'm the pastor of this church, and I want to welcome you here. This church exists to serve this community, and so we gladly welcome you here and understand the gravity of the situation. And I live in this area. I've been here for almost 30 years, and live up at the top of the hill here. And I have a vested interest here in that I feel like my health has suffered. I wake up with headaches. I've had bloody nose. I don't feel good, and I've never have had headaches my entire life. And so when certain groups have come and said, "Hey, can we use your church as a meeting place to talk about what's happening here at Porter Ranch?" I'm more than willing to open up our church to help try to resolve this issue, and prayerfully the sooner the better. Amen. And there have been, you can clap, it's okay to clap, go ahead and clap. I have also had to relocate because I don't like waking up every night with headaches, major headaches. So I've relocated and have yet to be reimbursed, but I hope I will be. Amen, amen. Tonight you're going to hear a lot of information, and there'll be a gentleman who comes up in just a moment. His name is Robert Glassman, and he's a part of another law group who's here tonight. If you're like me, you've been asked by several groups and been invited to come and to hear different law firms, and each of us, you're going to have to make your own decision for yourself. This particular group that I've met with personally, I believe I'm going to ask them to represent me, because I feel like I personally have been affected. I feel like my church has been affected. I know where I live has definitely been affected. And so tonight we're just going to give you a lot of information, and they're going to do what they do, which is to help you make an informative decision. I want to, just because I'm the pastor of this church, and again, lived here for 30 years, before we get started, I want to offer up a word of prayer, if you don't mind, and just ask for God to bless us tonight and to help this situation be resolved as quickly as possible. So if you don't mind, would you please bow your heads for just a word of prayer. Father God, we thank you for tonight. I thank you for all the people who are here from Porter Ranch. They're the ones, God, I'm most concerned about. They're the ones who, in a sense, Lord, you've called me here to shepherd to some degree. And I care for them not just spiritually. I care mostly about them spiritually, but I also care for them physically and emotionally, relationally. Lord, we live here together. This is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful city. It's the best city in the world. And yet we're faced with a very difficult situation with this gas leak that's right above these houses. And we wake up day after day smelling this gas, not really knowing the ramifications. No one really knows. No one knows except you. And God, I would ask God in faith that the people that are up on that hill working, I believe they're up there right now working, SoCal Gas Company, help them to find a resolution to this problem as quickly as possible. Be with those who are working, help them to be safe, protect them. Whatever solutions they're working on, help those solutions to come about as quickly as possible. We would love for our neighborhood to go back the way it was. And so, God, we ask you for your blessing on them, for each of us who live here, for our health, that you would watch over us and protect us. And tonight, as we listen to experts give their opinion on certain elements, help us as people to be wise, to listen, to not jump to conclusions, but to be diligent and to do research on our own, and to take everything with a grain of salt. But give us ears that hear, help us to decipher what's true and what's not true. And we just ask your blessing on everything that is said here tonight. We pray in your Son's name, and all God's people said, amen. I want you.
Okay, so we're going to take a break back and with this town hall meeting in Porter Ranch on the Investigative Journal.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Okay, we are back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal on this January 6th, 2016 day on our calendar. We're listening to a Porter Ranch town hall meeting regarding this massive methane gas leak going on near Los Angeles and its health ramifications. Let's listen and get some more information regarding this very, very important story.
Put your hands together and welcome Robert Glassman.
Thank you very much, Pastor Rutherford. And if everyone could just give me a big round of applause for the pastor and the whole congregation for opening up their doors to us this evening and being so hospitable. We really appreciate it. And, as the pastor said, my name is Robert Glassman, and I am an attorney with the law firm of Panishay and Boyle in Los Angeles here. And on behalf of our entire legal team, I would like to welcome you to this very important town hall meeting that we are having here at the Shepherd of the Hills in Porter Ranch. As you all probably know, the Southern California Gas Company indicated that for the very first time on October 23rd of this year, there was a gas leak. At least that's what they're calling it, up in Aliso Canyon, up the street. And here we are, 2 months later, and they haven't done anything about it. They haven't fixed the leak, they haven't stopped it, and they have indicated to us and to you that it's not going to be until several months from now until they do anything about it. Well, what we say to that is that they have failed you. They have failed every single person in your community. And, you know, that's why we're here. That's why we're here, okay? Because every time they send an email out to you, every time they make a post on social media or make a statement in the press about how this gas isn't dangerous, is not toxic to you, to your children, to your parents, to your pets, well, that's a slap in the face. And that's why we're here. We're here to fight for you. That's what our job is. And just like in every big major legal battle, there's various areas that we need to explore and talk about. And that's the point of this evening. Because tonight you're going to hear from a number of experts in different disciplines who are going to offer different perspectives about this situation facing your community. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to introduce you to the people you're going to be hearing from. First, you're going to be hearing from Rex Paris. Rex is a attorney, a founding partner at the law firm of RX Paris in Lancaster. Rex is widely considered one of the most innovative and successful trial lawyers in this state and in the country. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the litigation strategy, about the cases that we've already filed and that we're going to file, and what some of our legal claims are. Then you're going to hear from a panel of medical experts, and I'm going to kind of go through the line here. You're going to hear from Dr. Ronald Fisk. Dr. Fisk, why don't you stand up? Dr. Fisk is a neurologist at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Next, we have Dr. Anthony Redding. Dr. Redding is a clinical psychologist and a professor at the UCLA School of Medicine. Thank you, Dr. Redding. Next, we have another attorney, Patricia Oliver. She's going to be talking to you a little bit about relocation. That's a big issue facing the community, and she's going to bring up some people who have just gone through the process, the Katz family, and she's going to talk to you about that. And it's a really horrible situation. It's a really horrible situation right now during the holidays, and so she's going to talk to you about what we're doing to help our clients in that regard. Next, we have Dr. Richard Kang, and Dr. Kang, he's a pediatrician. He practices critical care medicine for children, and we know this exposure to the gas is very dangerous to our children out there, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about that. Next, who do we have next to you, Dr. King? Okay, we've got Dr. Brooks Michaels. Dr. Michaels practices family medicine and specifically geriatrics, so he's going to talk to you a little bit about that, and he's going to offer some perspectives about some of our elderly people and how we can avoid problems going forward. And finally, we have the veterinarian, Dr. David Smith. And Dr. Smith, you're going to talk to us about our pets, right? Okay. Because as we've heard from you, this is affecting our pets too, not just our children, not just our families. So he's going to talk to you a little bit about that. So why don't we go ahead and get started and hear from Rex. Why don't you take it away?
Good evening. So, you've all heard different things about how the lawsuits are being filed, who's filing them, and it has to be incredibly confusing. I recognize that, every lawyer in the country is knocking on your door. That's regrettable, but to be expected, I think. But what we're attempting to do tonight is to just give you the raw information. And so let me tell you what's happened so far. Who's going to help me with this? Okay. The first thing we did is we filed a lawsuit
It's called a class action, and everybody's been told about that and confused by that, and so I want to clarify what that is. One of the things we want to accomplish is to have them stop doing this, to have them stop poisoning your community. The way to do that, we thought that the best way to do that, the most efficient way, was to file the class action. And the goal of that is to stop it so we're not here 2 years from now when the next well blows. That's the reason that's filed. That has nothing to do with your individual claims. So don't be confused by that. The class action is not protecting you for your individual claims. A problem that we've run into is the state's liability for this. That field, along with several other fields, have not been regulated according to the law. There's not any question about that. They can't deny it because a month before this well blew, a report came out that said 76% of every injection well in Los Angeles County was permitted illegally. That's their report. That's not our report. 76% of every one of these wells was done illegally. So when we asked the state to give us every type of gas escaping from that well and where it's going and where they're monitoring, what did they do? Now remember, the law requires them to do that. We're not asking for something we're not entitled to. The law says that information has to be available to you. They lawyered up, and that's what that letter is. They're not giving it to us. They lawyered up. And I can understand why they did. I can understand why they did. Crimes have been committed. Make no mistake about that. So, next week we will go to court. We will ask the judge to compel them to tell us what gases you are breathing and what gases your children are breathing. We shouldn't have to do that, but that's what we're going to do. That's the next step in the litigation. And then we had come to the individual claims. There are thousands of people in this community that are affected. If you own property in the community, your property values are going to be affected. There's nothing anybody can do about that. You will suffer a loss if you do not file a lawsuit to get compensated for it. But I want to talk to you about the people who are having health claims. It is critically important that if you are having health problems, that you get treated. It is also critically important that if you're not, don't. This litigation should be comprised of people who can, with absolute sincerity, say what problems they're having. It should not be populated by anybody who did not have physical symptoms. If you haven't had it, don't claim it. It's as simple as that. It's what our mom told us when we were growing up. Let's keep it that way throughout the litigation. We are now in the process of filing with the court each one of those individual claims. And you want to understand the enormity of the cost here. Just to file the complaints, it's $430 some. Multiply that by 2,000. We're looking at $1 million, almost $1 million, just to file the complaints. Why is that important to you? You want to be very careful that the people who are representing you have the ability to represent you. That's why I put 4 firms together. Not one of us had the ability to do it by ourselves. Did I do that? Oh, there we go. $435 to file the suit. And that is just the beginning. By the time this litigation is done, it's going to be $7-8 million in fees, experts, investigation, court costs. It's incredibly expensive. That's why you need a group that can sustain that type of effort. So, what's next? After we get it all filed, they'll start doing depositions where people come in under oath, they ask you questions, they ask the experts questions, and more importantly, we get to ask them questions. And they have to answer us. And we will find out exactly what happened up there, how long it's been happening, and what were the gases that have been seeping into this community for the last 10 years. This is not a 2-month problem. What we've discovered is this has been ongoing for a long time. This was just a major blowout. That's why everybody's here today. It's the most massive gas well blowout in a populated area in history. This has never happened before in a populated area. And so when they tell you that it's not damaging, it's just temporary, whatever nonsense they're feeding you, understand nobody knows. It's never happened before. If you're having symptoms, make sure you get treated. Make sure you go to your doctors, find out what's going on and what you should do to lessen the impact. The people that are most at risk are people my age. You know, it's really hard for me to say that. People over 60, we're the most vulnerable population. People with health conditions, people with any type of chronic disease, this can be deadly. Make sure you're getting treated. The other at-risk population is our children. You know, they're developing. Nobody knows what breathing this stuff constantly is doing to them. And let me tell you what the defense is. How many people here have been reading the newspaper, watching the television as the gas company says, this is just the smell you're reacting to. It's just temporary. It's not a problem. It's not serious. How many have heard that? Now, these people aren't stupid. How could somebody possibly say that? We have children whose noses are bleeding every day. We have people who suffer from chronic headaches every single day. We have people that are nauseous every single day. How does that not become a serious issue? So why are they saying something nobody here believes? They're building the defense. They know the lawsuit is coming, and they're trying to convince everybody that it's all in our heads. It's a trick. It's a trick invented by lawyers. Make no mistake, that's what's happening, and that's why you must document everything. Every dime this has cost you, write it down. Put it in a spreadsheet if you do Excel. Every dime. We do not want to cover 1 cent that you're not entitled to, but we want to recover every cent they took from you. That's what's called fairness, and we want this thing at the end to be fair. If you don't document it, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult to do that, so write it down. And when the dust settles, when it's hopefully they have closed that facility, we are attempting to do that through the litigation process, but we also have to do it through the political process. I mean, come on, folks. You have a gas storage facility that we know the wells will blow where people live? That's insanity. We all know that's insanity. It's time our leaders recognize it's insanity and they close it. But when the dust settles, we will do appraisals of everybody's property, and we will know exactly what it has cost in regards to the diminishment in the value of your property. And that we will recover along with everything else. So there it is. That's where we are. That's where we're going. Hopefully it'll be quick. It rarely is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rex. And, before we just get going on with the medical experts, I have the privilege of introducing you to our fearless leader of our legal team, Mr. Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. You are going to hear from Mr. Kennedy at the end of our presentation. He's going to wrap things up for us, and he's going to share with you some of his insights and perspectives about this environmental crisis that's facing your community, about the ongoing gas flow, and about these wells that are up there on Aliso Canyon. Okay, so we're excited to hear from him. Before we get going with Dr. Fisk, I just want to call up here to this microphone. I don't know where he is right now, but Dante Acosta. Mr. Acosta, here he is. Mr. Acosta is the field representative for Congressman Steve Knight. Dante.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to take a moment on behalf of Congressman Steve Knight to let you all know that he's here through me and through Wyatt Woodson, our other field representative. Actually, he's in D.C. They're still voting. They have a vote tomorrow, and then they'll be coming back to the district. We've had a lot of meetings on this issue, even though it is from a regulatory standpoint, it is a California state issue and a local issue with the county, etc. I want to let you know that Congressman Knight is very engaged in this process. We've had multiple meetings this week. We've met with county fire. We've met with health department officials. We've met with the company, etc. And Congressman Knight is closely monitoring this issue, and just want to let you know that he is concerned and he is aware of the issue, and he's not, out there in D.C. forgetting about his constituents back here in California. He will be back in the district tomorrow, as he is every weekend, and we'll be giving him a full, comprehensive update. So I wanted to take a moment to say that to you, and thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Dante. All right, Lee, can we put on Dr. Fisk's presentation here? And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear from Dr. Fisk. Like I said, Dr. Fisk is a neurologist at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Dr. Fisk.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening. A neurologist does a lot of things, one of which is get to talk to good people like you, help explain complicated problems, and we are into an area of complicated problems, which I'm going to try to simplify to some extent, but just to some extent. You'll see in a minute or two that I'm going to demonstrate to you, reveal to you that there are ways to approach the health problems engendered by these toxic environments. There are an array of symptoms. The brain and spinal cord and nerves are the ones that I'm going to focus on, but nevertheless they interplay with the functionality of the entire human being. So it's axiomatic in medicine that you never treat a test result, you treat the individual. The wonderful thing about dealing with adults is they can tell you what's wrong if you take the time to ask the questions and form the pattern of the illness. And so that's what I'm going to give to you tonight, broad brush strokes, so that in point of fact you begin to understand the boundaries of the problem, the range of symptoms that can evolve, again, particularly with respect to the nervous system, and in particular, how to approach your health assessment. So Rex mentioned specifically that not everybody will be ill. Not everybody is going to be sick, or if you're sick, the good news is that a significant number of you won't be severely ill. You won't require heroic measures to recuperate, simply avoidance, perhaps exiting the area, perhaps other measures will be more than adequate. Some of you, unfortunately, will not be able to benefit just in those simple ways, but will require medical intervention, beginning with diagnosis and ultimately the therapies that are available, and finally, most importantly, to be able to predict the future. So with those prefatory remarks, let me just move ahead with the slides. Pointing in the right direction.
And Dr. Fisk, I was just advised no one can see you because you're in the dark over here.
I see.
So why don't we stand in the light so everyone can see how good looking your tie is.
That's not why I'm here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, hydrocarbon toxicity. Hydrocarbon is just the medical term for the substances to which you are exposed. Hydrocarbon literally means hydro for hydrogen hydrogen, carbon for the carbon atom. And these are essentially the building blocks of the human being. Virtually every major chemical product, every chemical interaction involves molecules which are in fact composed of carbon and hydrogen, with then additional elements such as oxygen. The areas that we're going to deal with here in terms of the exposure to these hydrocarbons, obviously we can see that they take many different forms, most of which are relatively benign because in fact we can control our exposures. So whether it's paints or thinners or gasoline fumes, rubber cement, obviously we have control of those environments. We don't have control over organic gases, which is our focus tonight. All right, so the issue here is to look at the areas of the body that are most commonly involved. Now again, I'm just going to touch briefly on this subject area, given the fact that I'm focusing mostly on the brain and the nerves. But obviously, the major modes of exposure are going to be inhalation, breathing it into the lungs, ingestion, swallowing it, dermal exposure. Those primarily are going to be the mechanisms by which we're adversely affected. Dermal exposure means contact with the skin in a chronic irritative state.
Okay, this meeting went on for some time, and you heard some of the participants talking about the severity of what's going on right before our very eyes here in Southern California, a largely populated area. And my concern is that this is probably worse than they're even telling us here in this meeting. So let's keep an eye on this story. If you have any emails or things affecting you, contact the people that are listed here on this video. You can go to Porter Ranch Gathers for Town Hall Meeting YouTube, and you can listen to it yourself. We'll be back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal. We'll talk about the Hammond issue up in Oregon. Didn't have time today. So see you tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.